Hi, and welcome back to my Pokemon genealogical tree. In the last video, I covered inorganic Pokemon, and I just want to go over a few changes which I've made. For one, I wrongly claimed that Manaphy was made entirely of water, which I now know is not true, so it's been moved out of that area. I've also added in Drifloon to the synthetic Pokemon, and I've put it as an offshoot of Weezing. They're really similar, but Drifloon is full of souls, whereas Weezing is full of gas. When looking at inorganic Pokemon, the obvious place to start is Reuniclus. In our world, life started with small single-cell organisms, and while Reuniclus isn't single-celled, it's still very few cells. From here, the chart branches off into 3 separate versions. However, I'm only going to be covering 2 of them because animals is absolutely massive. We have all of the mushroom Pokemon in with the fungus. I've included Parasect here because it's the mushroom that's actually alive, not the crab. You'll also see that I haven't included Brute Bonnet, and this is because I don't really want to include the Paradox Pokemon. A lot of the Paradox Pokemon are really contradictory in how they're presented. They'd be in wildly different areas to the tree compared to their originals, and I just don't think it would make sense. There's also the theory that Paradox Pokemon aren't real, so they'll probably go in a separate area all to themselves. We also break off into plant life, where we can see a few Pokemon that break off from the rest. Delmise is based off seaweed, and I initially struggled to place Tangrowth. It's made out of vines, but I don't know what type of vines. But it's also based on swamp creatures. Because of this, I decided to place it as a moss, so it breaks off very early. The final Pokemon before we get to the rest of the plants is Abomasnow, which is a conifer and distantly related from the rest. Here we split off into Eudicots and Monocots. In the Monocot group, we have Pokemon like Lilligant based on a lily, but also some closely related Pokemon in Executor and Tropius, based on palm trees and bananas. Eldegoss then splits off from the Eudicots before we get to Rosids and Superastrids. Within Superastrids, we have a lot of the very dangerous plants. Victreebel and Carnivine are both carnivorous plants, while Cacturne and Maractus are both cacti. On another branch, we have 2 food-based Pokemon who are closely related, Scovillain and Arboliva, and then to some Flora and Jumpluff, who are very closely related to Ferrothorn. I decided to think of Ferrothorn as some sort of plant that exists within a hard steel shell, and I decided that Burdock was the best thing, so it goes here with the sunflowers and the dandelions. Within the Rosid family, we get all of the traditional flower Pokemon. Bellossom and Vileplume would obviously be closely related, while Roserade and Serena, both being very feminine flowers, would also be close. On a different branch, the only Pokemon based off a squash is Gourgeist, while Shiftry and Hisuian Electrode are both based on acorn-like creatures. Electrode is one of the Pokemon that I would have considered synthetic, however because of Hisuian Electrode, we can clearly see that it's originally plant-based, and that modern Electrode must have evolved from this.